Did you know Variety, the children's charity, is the entertainment charity started by a group of show business people who found an abandoned baby in a theatre way back in 1928. These kind-hearted performers raised so much money to help the lost child that they began helping other children, and Variety, the children's charity, was born. Read the full story and support the entertainers charity that supports kids in need today. Visit variety.org.au. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Josh Earl knows firsthand the rollercoaster ride that is comedy. Serendipitously launching his stand-up comedy career with Rod Quantock in Tasmania, Josh moved to Melbourne, where he had a regular comedy spot on 3RRR radio while building his stand-up comedy career. Solo shows at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival and other comedy festivals around the country led to a huge spot, hosting the reboot of Spicks and Specks, which was formerly hosted by Adam Hills. In this School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast episode, Josh talks about life after Spicks and Specks, doing comedy for kids and his own podcast, Don't You Know Who I Am? Plus, if you're entering raw comedy, Josh provides some valuable insights from a former judge's perspective. Now, let's get stuck into the chat with Josh Earl.
Glad you like that, because first impressions sometimes don't go great. I'm not great at the first impressions. I admit that. I don't like handshaking. I think it's stupid. Why are we still doing handshaking? It's 2015. What? We've got our words. Just use your words. I don't know why you're still doing it. I don't know. And so, because this is a festival and it's arty and it's ABC, I've written a small play about the world's first handshake. So here we go. This is a small play about the world's first handshake. G'day.
G'day, the name's Damo. Put it there.
But what are you doing with that? What do you want me to do with that? What's that for? What do you want?
Just grab it.
What, your hand? What do you want?
Yes, me hand. Just hold on to me hand.
But I've never met you.
Exactly.
What do you mean exactly? I've never met you before. You want to hold your hands?
That's why I want you to grab onto me hand.
What's on? You got something on your hands? Or you want to hold? You got something
Nothing's
on there?
on it. Just grab onto me hand before it gets weird.
It's already weird. You want me to hold your hand? I don't know you.
Why would I want you to grab me hand if something was on it?
I don't know. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you want me to hold your hand. It's fine. I'll hold your hand. It's. Oh, it's weird.
That's
it's weird.
it.
Oh, this is weird. Oh.
Firmer.
Why firmer? What am I holding
Don't
firmer
be
for?
all limp in me hand. Just give it a nice firm grip. Not too
weird.
hard. Just so I know you're not letting go.
Oh, it's weird. Weird.
Just shake it.
What am I shaking it for?
Just shake it.
Oh!
Not like that. Up and down, mate.
What?
Shake it up and down, not side to
You
side.
don't shake these up and down. Like, it's weird.
Don't look at the hand either.
Where are you meant to look at your
Look
hand?
into me eyes.
Your eyes wide. It's weird.
Yeah.
Still going.
Hang on and release.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, you're weird. Oh. And scene. Thank you very much.
G'day, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. G'day, Maury. How you doing?
Oh, well, very good, mate. Thank you very much for your time today as we move into Christmas.
Okay.
And it's busy for different reasons, right? You got to buy Christmas presents and you've got to, get things finished and...
Yeah, as a dad, I've got to do all those things and also try and get enough gigs in as well.
Oh, we might talk a little bit about fatherhood then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time again, Josh. Now, Josh, you're in Melbourne right now?
I am, yes.
Yeah, but you're originally from Tasmania.
Yeah. I grew up in Tassie. I was there until I was 22 and then made the move over to Melbourne.
Excellent. Did you start your comedy career in Tasmania?
Yeah. So I did a theatre degree, and one of the first actual things that we had to do in that was stand-up comedy. And I think it was just the lecturer saying, I just wanted to stand up on stage and be yourself. So it was just us up there for 3 minutes just talking or telling a story. I don't think it was really into going, all right, let's craft some material. It was just tell a story from your life just so you feel and look comfortable on stage. And that was the first time I did stand-up and loved it, and kind of then waited another 5 years until I did it again.
Oh, right. So, what happened in that bracket there?
Yeah, so I was doing my acting degree and then finished that and went into a teaching degree. And then in that time was kind of doing improv stuff with a bunch of people and also playing music and just doing music gigs.
Yep.
And then a mate of mine who had a little zine that he would like write about bands and stuff in. So I'm thinking of doing a comedy night. Do you want to host it? And so I emceed this comedy night, which went really well. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy in the audience who said, next month I'm bringing down Rod Quantock. Do you want to host that?
Yep.
And I was like, great. And so, after the first gig, I had another gig supporting Rod Quantock. So, it was fun.
Wow. And then when you say down, are you in Melbourne at this point or still in Tassie?
No, I'm still in Launceston. So, but down, I mean, bringing from Melbourne to Launceston.
Oh, fantastic. So am I right in saying that your first paid gig was with Rod Quantock?
Yeah. I can't remember how much it was, but it was enough to, getting paid for anything in comedy was great at that time. And so, that was my first paid gig. And so it's really funny when I talk to people about their first gigs and they're like, oh, yeah, it took me a while to get a decent 5 minutes. Whereas because I was emceeing, I had like 20 minutes in my first gig, which was because I was doing songs. And so I do a bit of song and lead up to the song, and that, went to about 4 minutes. And so I did that. And so, that was the first time. And then in that show, in the Rod show, someone was helping out with Falls Festival that was for the first time ever going to be in Hobart. And so they said, do you want to do the comedy at the Falls Festival this year? And I was like, yeah, I just want to go to the Falls Festival.
Right.
So I got to perform at the Falls Festival, and that would have been like my fourth gig as well, doing one of the main stages there. So it was very quickly, and that was the good thing about doing it in Tassie, because there was no other comics around. There was like three of us. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, you get these opportunities that other people, in Melbourne or Sydney in the bigger markets didn't get.
Yeah. Well, on a quick one with Falls Festival in Tassie, so were you performing in between bands, were you, as they moved on and off?
They had a special comedy section, and so it was a really great time because it was like on the second morning at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
On the first thing on that day, and so it was great because everyone was kind of like, oh, well, there's no bands on, there's someone talking, so I'll just sit and watch that because there's nothing else to do. What else are you going to do?
Yeah. Because I've heard horror stories of comedians coming on between bands and getting beer cans thrown at them, going, get off, we want to hear The Cure or whoever's playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like people don't go to those things to sit and listen to someone talk. Right. And so it was that great thing. It was like second day, everyone was kind of a bit hungover. You can't sleep in a tent, so what are you going to do?
That's right.
Go get some food or go sit down and watch someone talk. So, it was a really good gig.
Did you have a lot of hangover jokes?
That's a good thing because I was there already, and so I saw all the bands that they saw, and so it was this thing I could just talk about. Did you see this band last night? And kind of give them a bit of shit, and then did you see this? And it was fun.
Right. Was that the beginning of your love affair with music? Because people who know you, and we'll get on to Spicks and Specks in a moment, but I believe prior to Spicks and Specks, 3RRR in Melbourne, is that right?
Yeah. So I did a show on that for 5 years called Lime Champions, which was a sketch show with me and Damien Lawler and Kirsten Law. There was a few others who kind of dipped in and dipped out, but that were the main three for the majority of the 5 years. Yep. And so that was just us writing sketches, an hour's worth of sketches pretty much every show for 5 years, which,
And perform live, or did you pre-record?
We went in on Sundays and pre-recorded.
Yep.
And then we'd edit it all day Monday, and then the show was 7 o'clock on Mondays.
Okay.
And so, I'd spend all day Saturday writing, Sunday recording and editing, Monday to try and finish off the edit that I didn't finish already on Sunday.
Yeah, right. A lot of great comedians come out of 3RRR and still are in 3RRR right now, for that fact. Yes. So
there's people like H.G. Nelson started there. Sam Pang was there. Santo Chilaro was at RRR. So, really good history of great comedy.
Yeah, you've done very well. And then the big one. Well, you tell me if it was a big one, or maybe there was other ones between it. But Spicks and Specks, the reboot. Yeah. They decide you've got the face. You've got the young Adam Hill's face, perhaps.
Yeah, it was a really exciting time because how it all happened was I did the very last episode. As I was a guest on the very last episode with Adam and Miss and Alan. And it went really well. And afterwards, Adam kind of just said, it's a shame it's not going to be on next year because it should be, and Josh should host. And I don't know if he really meant that or if he was just being super nice, but the people at the ABC listened.
Yeah.
And they were like, if it ever does come back, we should actually see if, And then I got an email, this was a year and a half after, like they'd announced that they were going to bring it back.
Yep.
And then nothing happened. And then about 8 months after that, I got an email from the ABC saying, would you like to come in and help out with the auditions? And that's how they worded it.
Right.
And I thought, okay, what they're doing, and this is quite common for panel shows, when they're auditioning, they'll get people just to be on the panel.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, well, I've done the show before, so they know I know how it works, so I'll just be sitting there while I watch someone else audition for it.
Yep.
And then the day before the audition, they sent me the script, and it was host Josh Earl, captains, and blah, blah. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of exciting.
Oh, didn't anyone tell you, Josh? Oh, I thought you knew.
Yeah. But then it was, so I just thought, oh, well, I'm never going to get this. This is ridiculous. No one even knows who I am. And so I just went in there thinking, oh, it'll just be fun to play pretend. And was just having lots of fun with it. And I think they really liked that. And so then I had 4 more auditions after the initial first one.
Okay.
And each time it was getting more and more kind of, oh, wow, this could happen. And then I got the call that, I got it. And so I remember being super excited for about 15 minutes, and then it all kind of kicked in and going, oh, shit, this is real now. And so you kind of think, in anything coming like that, and people were like, oh, why would you even say yes to it? Surely you knew it was not going to work. And, there is that in the back of your head going, okay, anyone replacing anyone is a tough sell. And especially when it's Adam Hills, who's so loved by everyone.
True.
And I was like, but I'd kick myself if I said no just because it might fail. And so I thought, well, I'll do it. And I got to do it 26 episodes, and that's 26 more than anyone else ever did apart from Adam. And so, I'm really proud of it. People are always like going, oh, is it all right to talk about it? I'm like, I'm really proud of the show and what we did. I thought the show was fun. It was the show that I wanted to make, and the crew wanted it to be made this way. And so, I was happy with it.
And it is a roller coaster ride anyway in entertainment. So,
this is the thing. People are like, oh, you must be relieved when you got that. I'm like, I think it was, like I said, 15 minutes, and then it's like, all right, now I've got to get to work.
Yeah.
And this industry is weird because you don't get too many wins. I mean, you get to do great gigs, but as soon as the gig finishes, you're like, okay, well, what's next? What's the next gig?
That's right.
And so you don't get to really sit back and celebrate and go, oh, yeah, we finally did it. Like even the announcement of it got leaked to the paper, and so I hadn't told my parents yet.
Oh,
and
right.
It got leaked in the paper, and so they're ringing me saying, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, I can't say, don't answer any phones from anyone, blah, 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 don't say anything. Because I was worried, like it got leaked, and I was thinking maybe it might not happen because, sometimes things get leaked, they might change it up just so, they hold on to the power of it.
Wow, that's it is a very bipolar career, isn't it? Into entertainment, particularly TV and stand-up.
Yeah, I mean, the more you go into, the more it becomes your career and your job, the higher the stresses are. And I remember when I first started, it was so much fun. Like I was working a day job and going out and doing gigs at night, and it was kind of my release of doing my day job. And then now it's my full-time gig, and it's kind of that thing where it's like, I still love it, but it is that thing of like it's a job now. It's really kind of, I've got to kind of do all that hustle kind of stuff and, make sure I'm on top of all the emails and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. And it does kind of get, I wish it was just fun again.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, that wasn't the end of your career in comedy on TV. You had the ABC wanted you around apparently because they invited you to do Stand and Deliver. Yeah,
so that was a really fun one. That was like a kids comedy show on ABC 3. So so I did the first series of that, the host of that.
And had you become a father at this point?
Yeah, I was a dad. So my kids are 6 and 3. So this was in 2016. I hosted that, and so I'd been doing kids comedy since 2007. Just through the comedy festival, they have Kids Comedy Club, and they get a bunch of comedians to do shows for kids. And so the first year I did it, I didn't have any kids material, but just thought, I'll just do my adult material and just cut out the swearing, and then realised, kids don't care about that kind of stuff. You got to tailor it for them. And so the next year they asked me back, and I thought, it's a fun gig and it's a good challenge to write something. And so I wrote 15 minutes just for kids, and it went really well. And so then in 2014, I think it was, 2015, I did a show for kids in the comedy festivals around Australia called My Family's Weirder Than Your Family. And then the ABC knew I was doing that, and so they kind of said, do you want to host this, which is really great. And so, that's what I did.
Oh, fantastic. And was it about 12 episodes?
Yeah, 12 episodes. Yeah. And so it was me hosting, and there was a whole bunch of different people on. So Cam Knight did one, Dave Williams did some.
Yep.
I know this season they've just done, Auntie Donna did some.
Oh, wow.
They get,
okay.
Yeah, they get really good people who don't normally do kids comedy. It's a nice challenge to see like comics who, do really tough gigs.
Yeah.
Freak out if you're going, I don't know how this is going to go. I've never done this. So, I think it's a nice challenge for comics.
That wasn't the one where Auntie Donna had things thrown at them for most of the set?
Yeah, it probably would have been. Yeah, I'd say that would be what it was, yeah.
And they had the stiff upper lip, and they soldiered on, and I can imagine they just wanted to tear some kids to pieces. Well,
that's the great thing about doing comedy for kids is that they're very honest. They haven't bought the ticket, so they don't have to pretend to like it. In case they, acknowledge that they've made a bad purchase. Yeah, they're just like, no, I don't like this. And it's a really great challenge because, I've done 2 different shows now for kids. So My Family's in Your Family and Oliver Up a Tree.
Yep.
And both of them, when it hits, it's like, it's a great feeling. Like I've actually got these room full of kids listening for 50 minutes or however long the show was. And you do feel like, oh, wow, this is kind of important. It's great.
Yeah. No, you make an impact, that's for sure. Well, I have a kid as well. He's 8, so I relate to that. Well, let's go back a couple of years earlier. We just talked about 2014 and 15 and 16, but back in 2011, I believe, were you an MC for Raw Comedy?
Yeah, I've been through Raw Comedy a few times, I think. It's really weird because I never entered Raw Comedy.
No, okay.
When I was starting, they had Raw Comedy, but I read the rules, and because I was lucky and I had done that Rod Quantock gig and Falls gig, I read the rules and went, I've made too much money, I can't do it.
Yeah, yes.
And then I realised that no one like checks that. I could have entered. No one knew who I was. It was fine.
Oh, you're an honest man. That's why you do comedy for kids. Yeah.
I know, and so it was just
trustworthy man.
I should have just entered, but. I've been lucky enough to MC it a fair few times. It's a great gig, and I have nothing against. So I know some comics have things about comedy competitions and comedy subjective, so having you judge it. But I think it's just great to get stage time, and also to give people that kick to actually go, I want to do it. How do I do it? Oh, this is a great entry level gig to get up on stage and just test myself to go to 5 minutes in front of an audience. Yeah,
no, that's amazing. Well, as you may know, the call out for Raw Comedy has just begun. I think the first heats will be late January. For the people that listen to this podcast in particular are those people who are starting their career. They might be open micers. They might have been doing open mics for a year, even 2 years maybe even longer. Like Dave Hughes, I think he did open mics for about 4 years. What advice would you give to those who have put their name down, have got a date looming in January or February? What advice would you give them as a former judge and a comedian? What would you give them to make a bigger impact on the day so they can get past the first heat into the semis?
So just go out and see as much comedy as possible. And that's not just watching clips on YouTube. Actually go out into clubs and see what people are doing, because I think you can watch a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube and it doesn't really have the same essence as a club gig. And you go to a club gig, you can see what people are doing and see if you're on a similar kind of vein of what's happening and what's making audiences laugh, and just try and get up as many times as you can before it and just hone that 5 minutes. And sometimes I watch open mic comics who often will play to the comics in the room. And that's something that don't worry about what the comics are thinking about your set, because they're not going to pay for tickets later in life. You want to get, exactly. But you want to get the audience, people who are actually paying to go and see comedy, and you want them to enjoy what you do.
Right.
And so don't worry about doing the same set every time, because the only way you get better is by repeating the material again and again and again, and finding those little moments where you can kind of, throw in another line or leave that beat that makes it land even better, or just those little tips and tricks that you'll only realise if you do it over and over and over again. I see too many open micers go, well, I did that last time, I'll do a different set this time, and they never improve on it because they're always trying to do new, and they might have some great concepts in that 5 minutes, but then next time they do a different, and they don't try and work up those concepts into something that's going to be able to hit every single time they get up on stage.
Right.
And so I think that's the two main things: go and see stuff, and then try and also get up on stage as much as you can.
Yeah. And was that your secret to winning the 2012 Best Comedy at Perth Fringe Festival?
Well, yeah. So the show I won that with was the Women's Weekly Children's Birthday Cake Book Show, which I'd already done in Adelaide Fringe, Melbourne International Comedy Festival, and Brisbane Comedy Festival in 2010. And so by the time I got to Perth, I'd already done it 60 times. And so it was just kind of just its own machine. And so it was great because Perth Fringe is the first kind of comedy festival of the year that people go to. And so people are working up their shows. And I went in with a show that I'd already done a bunch of times. And I think that's what kind of set me apart that year by going, this is the show. And, I mean, that show was a really fun show to do, and people really they liked the show, and a whole bunch they weren't coming to see me, they were coming to see Cakes. And so it was an easy sell, and so it was big audiences, and I was doing it at the Spiegel tent, so it looked big as well. I think that always helps.
And your former acting career and acting studies that you did, how useful is that? Because, a lot of comedy, some comedy like, say, Elliot Goblet, Jack Levi, he's just throwing one-liners. There's actually no facial expression. He doesn't need to act as such. He just needs to get the line out and timing. But then you see other people and they tell a story and it's emotional. You did acting early days. How important was that to help refine your comedy? Well,
I think the main thing of that was I did a theatre degree where I had to learn how to tech a show as well.
Yep.
And so I did a whole semesters on lighting and sound and all this kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that's really helped me most in comedy in terms of doing festival shows, because I know how to fix the lighting or what to ask for and what to do with the sound. And in my shows, I do more than just straight stand-up. I kind of have themes, or I have a lot of sound cues happening as well, and I use projector and all this kind of stuff because I just feel that, this is a show. In clubs, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. But if I'm doing a show and people are coming out, I want it to feel more than just a club spot.
Yeah.
I want it to feel like they've actually come out and they've seen an actual proper show, because people often think, you're just, competing against your Hugheses or your Adam Hills and that kind of stuff. But it's no, you're competing against any form of entertainment. You can think in movies and musicals and all this kind of stuff. That's when people are going, what should we do tonight? And the comedy festival's on. They're like, what would it? And so it's also the Book of Mormon was on this year in Melbourne. And so, of course, why wouldn't you go and see $1 million production as opposed to someone who didn't even bother to put on a shirt and just you have their notes in front of them and going, I don't know why people aren't coming along when I'm charging $25.
Yeah, right.
Something that just looks finished.
Yeah.
And so, that was the big thing, to make sure that, if you're putting on a show, you put on a show.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning of this podcast interview, we heard a little sketch that you put on, and you had the voiceover, the whole premise of, who made the first handshake in the world. That was the premise. And you had someone. Now, is someone in the sound booth pressing a button, or have you just got the timing perfectly?
That's all timing. So that's just me learning when the beats are and what to do. And also, I've done it so many times now, I know how to ad-lib and pause when I know when the voice is coming. And that's why, if you listen, you'll hear music underneath that as well. And that's, so I go with the music. It's just like learning a song, really.
Oh, okay, great. So someone has to press the button to turn it on, but after it's on, you're good to go? Or do you have a button in your pocket?
No, I've got, I that one I have it on a little foot pedal, so I even operate when it starts as well. And so I just do that, and it comes on, and it'll just run like a full. I think it goes for 3 minutes, and I'll just turn it off at the end, and that's it. So there's
wow. It's like a guitar foot pedal?
Yeah, it's a guitar. It's called a Boss loop pedal, and it can hold up to 11 minutes of sound cues. Yep. And it's got 8 different channels that I can turn to and have different things in there. And that's come off the back of doing, shows in festivals where the techs, they're doing like 3 different shows a night, and they're not always on top of things. And so they're just going, I'll take it out of their hands. I can just concentrate on doing the lights, and I'll do all my cues from that.
Yeah, right. Well, I think anyone listening to this will find that very useful, because that is, I'm the guy in the sound booth most of the time for our stand-up comedy school that we do, and people come to me at the last minute and they go, can you play this music as I walk up on stage? Can you play this as I exit stage? Oh, God. Is the pedal like a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, or is it physically connected to the mixing board? It's
connected with a cable, so just a jack to jack, but it's on batteries, so I don't have to plug it in or anything like that, and so I just have to remember to change the batteries before any gig.
Beautiful. Oh, well, there you go. Well, that's exciting. Moving on from the past, let's talk about the future. So this year, obviously, we're at the end. This is December for those of you who have picked up this podcast a little later. We're moving into 2018. Of course, the highlight of the beginning of the year is, of course, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. What have you got lined up for next year?
So this is the first year since 2005 that I'm not doing my own solo show, which is kind of nice to have a summer where I'm not writing new material. But I'm actually doing my podcast. So I do a podcast called Don't You Know Who I Am, which is I get four comedians or 4 people I think are funny, and pretty much just quiz them about their life and interview them. And it's just a good excuse for getting funny people telling funny stories. And so I'm doing 4 episodes of that at the European Beer Cafe on Sundays.
Great.
And I'm also doing 2 of them at the Festival Club, which is Max Watt's House of Sound, which used to be the Hi-Fi Bar. So Tuesday the 3rd and the 10th of April. And so going to get a whole bunch of international guests, which the festival, helping me out with, and some other big names who aren't doing shows in the festival are going to come along to do that one. So I'm really excited about doing that.
Oh, fantastic. I guess you'll be able to get people who aren't always necessarily in Melbourne as well onto the show. Yeah,
that's the great thing. I mean, having the festival kind of semi-produce that one.
Yep.
Or actually produce it. I shouldn't say semi-produce it. They're actually producing it. They get to, help me out. Book. I just tell them who I want, and they email on my behalf, which is a lot better if you're an international act going, this is from the actual festival, not just from someone's, Yahoo account. And so, it should be fun.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure there's a link on the show notes from this podcast so that people can click on it and book those tickets when they become available. Are they available already, or are they still a few weeks away?
The ones at the ones at the Euro are, they're all available. And I think Festival Club, you just get tickets. You probably can get them online.
Yep.
But I'm not sure when they'll release those. That'll probably be after the guide's out.
Yep. Perfect. Wonderful. Oh, well, that's amazing. Well, Josh, if people want to get in contact with you, they want to book you for a show, how would they do that?
On my website, which is joshearl.com.au, there's a link there for my email, and that way. Otherwise, I'm on all the social media. So on Twitter, I'm at Mr. Josh Earl, and Facebook, Josh Earl Comedian. Pretty easy to find, and I'm pretty easy to get into contact with.
Oh, beautiful. Well, Josh, I've learned something. I'm a bit of a techie, so the whole foot pedal thing was the highlight of this interview for me. But for other people, might have got some other value as comedians. Well, Josh, thanks very much for your time today. Very, very useful, and I look forward to popping in and watching that podcast at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.